Hi everyone, my name is Livani Valdivia and I am going to be talking about my topic, which is regarding the Senate Bill 145, which is seen here in California as a new policy in the sex offender registry. Before I begin, I just want to put a disclaimer that sexual acts will be discussed. They will not be discussed too deeply, but they will be mentioned, as well as I just want everybody to keep in mind when they watch this. It is something a little bit controversial. So just keep in mind, open mind when you listen to me speak about this. So, Senate Bill 145, what it is. Basically, it was signed by Governor Gavin Newsom in September of this year. It is known as the bill that eliminates inequality between people who pertain in or identify as, better phrase, as LGBT, or as well as just people who are part of that group and they basically want to get treated equally as people who are heterosexual. So, previously, there has been a law in California that was made in 1947, and this law basically says that if a minor, and when we're talking about minor, we're talking about someone who is between the age of 14 and 17 years old. We're not talking about anybody younger than 14 when we're discussing this topic. When they have basically a sexual relation with someone who is over 17, but it cannot be older than 10 years apart, so they cannot be 10 years apart. Basically, when they have sexual relations and we're talking about consensual sex. We're not talking about, non-consensual sex. Like, this is very consensual. Both parties want to act upon the sexual acts. In 1947, basically, when a minor was found to have sexual relations with someone who was over 18, they would go upon a judge, and the judge basically would decide, okay, you are going to get you're going to have to register as a sex offender under California law. So the judge would basically choose, you could or you couldn't. During this time as well, gay sex was illegal and it was frowned upon and no one talked about it. So in 1947, there's nobody really talking about gay sex. It was not a thing people had talked about. It was like behind everybody's head. So basically, one Senate Bill 145 comes in place is just trying to get equality between that. And when a boyfriend that is over 18 is having relationships with someone who is a minor, who is under 18, and I just want everybody to keep in mind we're talking about people who are, like around 18, 17, or dating a college student. They're still very close in age, but obviously if someone's 18, someone is under 18, it involves sexual relations with someone who is a minor. Now, when stuff like this happens and they have to go to a judge, and basically a judge rules whether this is appropriate or not appropriate, and that is basically how a judge will rule whether someone have to put into the sex offender registry. So now we're talking about people who pertain into or identify as LGBT. They have to, a judge will automatically have to put whoever is over 18 into the registry. So they don't get a question like, okay, is that your boyfriend? Are you dating? Nothing like that. Automatically, this person will have to register. So that is what we're discussing, that topic. So as mentioned before, why we need this law. We need it just because we need to bring equality. So the only thing that we're talking about is just a person who is LGBT or Q. They are able to go to a judge just like anybody who is heterosexual would be able to go to a judge, and a judge decides whether they get to sign up as a sex offender or not. Now, as mentioned previously, people who do gay sex, which we're talking about now, anal sex or oral sex, since anal sex and oral sex are judged more critically and it's kind of judged more harshly, We just want to basically make sure that people who have anal or oral sex get judged equally as heterosexual sex. So, as mentioned before, if their girlfriend and their girlfriend, they're having consensual sex with their girlfriend who is under 18, they obviously will, somehow go up to a judge because they're caught and that's like illegal. The judge will decide, okay, you know what, that's your girlfriend. You don't have to sign up as a sex offender. Or they'll say, nope, this is not right. You should have not been doing that. You will all have to be signing up as a sex offender. So that is basically something that people who are heterosexual would always have that opportunity of going upon a judge and them deciding on that. So that is why we need this law. So as mentioned before, in 1947, this was mostly focused on heterosexual sex, not so much on gay sex. Now, why is this unfair? It's unfair just because we're talking about people who already have been able to go to upon a judge and have their case discussed. And now, as mentioned previously, gay sex, oral or anal sex automatically gets you into the sex offender registry. So we're just trying, I don't know why I'm saying we, but they're just trying to make it even. Another thing to keep in mind is that SB 145 is backed by, what was it? I know it's Los Angeles District Attorney. A lot of police officials back this bill as well as human rights movements back this bill. There's a list of them that back this bill, and it's just because we're not talking about pedophilia, we're not talking about rape, molestation, we're talking about consensual sex between a relationship. And I know that it's all, it's a very gray area where what is a relationship. You have someone who is an adult, someone who is still a minor. So that's not basically for us to judge, that's for a judge to judge. And that's the thing, we just want for people to be able to be judged by a judge and then let them decide fairly whether the relationship is legitimate or not, consensual or not. So it's not really for us to say, okay, well, what if this happens, what does that happen? Thankfully, we're not judges and we don't have to make that decision. It's just for a judge to say, you know what, you and your girlfriend, girl, boy, you don't have to sign up as a sex offender for the rest of your life. Another thing to keep in mind, once you register as a sex offender, you have to register as a sex offender at every area that you go to school, you work, or you live at, just because you can't be around children, you can't be about certain groups. There's just a lot of things to do. You also have to, I believe, inform your employer and stuff like that. And just have a little bit of empathy. And if you had a relationship with someone who was 17 and you were like 19 and something happens, you go up to a judge and you have to be registered as a sex offender for the rest of your life when you did something when you were 19, that's kind of harsh in my opinion. So everything right here is all my opinion, what I think. I did state the facts. Whether it's disagreed or not, that's up to you. But luckily, we're not judges, and the judges just have to basically rule on this fairly. Now, before this, I do want to mention Scott Wiener. He is our state senator, and he is basically backs SB 145. He has put right there that this is not pro-pedophilia at all. As mentioned before, we're talking about a certain age group and we're talking about a certain group. This is not backing, pedophilia, molestation, rape, none of that. I just want to say also, all sexual relationships acted with a minor, consensual, not are illegal. So whether it's not, you commit the crime, you have to pay the time. It could be many different things. But as mentioned previously, we're not the judges. We don't have to do that. So this law is just making it even for everybody to just go up to a judge, state your case, and hopefully we get treated equally as people who have heterosexual sex been treated since 1947. So that's all it is just making an even playing field. It's not promoting anything that is eerie. So just wanted to talk about this subject because it's very interesting, and I think my opinion is that this is fair to pass. I know a lot of people are saying that what's wrong with Newsom, but I mean, to each their own. I believe this is something that should have been passed a long time ago, just because, just even playing field with a judge. That's all it is. So thank you so much for listening. If you listen to this, I'm sorry about my rambling, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.